Welcome to What If I Was Reborn as Hunter Garou, Predator of All. A One-Punch Man novel. Rebirth of a Monster. The last thing I remember from my previous life was the blinding headlights of a truck bearing down on me. The classic isekai death, how pathetic. But instead of darkness, I found myself gasping for air in an unfamiliar body, muscle memory flooding through me like electricity. I was Garou, the hero hunter. The monster who would become cosmic in power. But this time, I wasn't just some delusional martial artist. I had knowledge of what was to come, of Saitama's overwhelming strength, of the god entity that would grant cosmic power, of every hero and monster that would cross my path. This world thought it knew what Garou represented, a mere symbol of injustice fighting against heroes. They were wrong. I would surpass not just the heroes, but every monster, every cosmic entity, even the god of this universe itself. And I would gather the strongest beings to my side, creating something this world had never seen before. The Absolute Predators. Arc 1, The Hunt Begins. Chapter 1, First Blood. 3 weeks after awakening in this body, I stood in the ruins of what used to be a C-class hero gathering. Smoke rose from the concrete around me as I wiped blood from my knuckles. 7 heroes lay unconscious at my feet, their costumes torn and spirits broken. Is this really all the Hero Association has to offer? I muttered, disappointed. These weaklings barely lasted 30 seconds each. My phone buzzed with notifications. Social media was already exploding with videos of the fight. #Hero Hunter was trending, and the comment sections were pure chaos. Holy shit, who is this guy? He destroyed Tank Top Tiger like he was nothing. The way he moved, it's like he could predict every attack. Someone call the S-class heroes. Perfect. Fame was the first step. In my previous life, I'd been nobody special, just another face in the crowd. But Garou's body, combined with my knowledge of every fighting technique and hero weakness, made me unstoppable at this level. I walked through the city streets, ignoring the panicked civilians who recognized me from the viral videos. The Hero Association would be scrambling to analyze the footage, trying to figure out my threat level. They'd probably classify me as Tiger or Demon initially. Fools had no idea what was coming. My destination was clear, the abandoned dojo where Garou had trained under Bang. Time to reclaim my martial arts heritage and begin the real hunt. Chapter 2, Waterstream Rock Smashing Fist. The dojo stood empty, exactly as I remembered from the anime. Dust motes danced in shafts of sunlight streaming through broken windows. I could feel the history in these walls, the years of training and discipline that had shaped the original Garou. But I wasn't here for nostalgia. I moved through the classical forms of the Waterstream Rock Smashing Fist, muscle memory guiding my movements. Each stance, each flowing transition felt natural, like breathing. The original Garou had been a prodigy, but he'd been held back by his narrow worldview and emotional instability. I had no such limitations. Hours passed as I trained, pushing this body to its limits. Sweat soaked through my torn shirt as I perfected combinations that Garou had never mastered, techniques that combined multiple martial arts schools into something entirely new. This wasn't just about copying, it was about evolution. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Hero Hunter strikes again, B-class hero Bone defeated in seconds. I smiled. I hadn't even been trying with that one. Bone had approached me on the street like some kind of vigilante, demanding I surrender to the authorities. The irony was delicious, a hero trying to act like a cop, getting destroyed by someone who actually understood justice. The video was already viral. Bone's confident swagger turned to panic in milliseconds as I dismantled his every move. The comments were getting more intense. This guy is insane. How is he so fast? The Hero Association needs to send someone strong before he kills someone. Am I the only one who thinks he's kind of hot? Eyes. That last comment made me pause. I'd forgotten about that aspect of Garou's character design. The wild silver hair, the intense golden eyes, the lean but powerful build. In my previous life, I'd been average at best. This body was different. Not that it mattered. I had bigger concerns than admirers. A shadow fell across the doorway. I turned to see an elderly figure silhouetted against the afternoon light. "So," said a familiar voice. My former student returns. Bang stepped into the dojo, his weathered face showing no emotion. The old martial arts master looked exactly as I remembered, small, unassuming, but carrying himself with the confidence of someone who could shatter mountains. "Sensei," I said, straightening from my stance. "I wondered when you'd show up. The Hero Association asked me to bring you in." Bang's eyes studied my form, noting the perfection of my technique. "You've improved considerably since you left." "Have I?" I let power flow through my stance, muscles tensing like coiled springs. "Or maybe you just never saw my true potential." Bang's expression didn't change, but I caught the slight shift in his footing. He was preparing for battle. "I taught you to protect the innocent, Garou. Not to hunt those who dedicate their lives to helping others." "You taught me to fight injustice," I corrected. "You just never specified whose definition of justice we should use." The old man sighed. "I see you're still the same stubborn child. Very well. If words won't reach you, perhaps this will." Bang exploded into motion, faster than most people could even see. His flowing water technique came at me like a tsunami, each strike carrying enough force to shatter concrete. But I had been expecting this. I flowed around his attacks like water myself, my enhanced reflexes and knowledge of his patterns making his assault seem almost slow. Bang's eyes widened slightly as I redirected his own force back at him, adding my own power to the mix. "Impossible," he breathed as my counterattack sent him sliding backward across the dojo floor. "You're getting old, sensei." I straightened, not even breathing hard. "Your technique is flawless, but your body can't keep up with your mind anymore." This was the difference between anime and reality. In the show, Bang had been portrayed as nearly untouchable. But facing him now, I could feel his limitations. Age had slowed his reflexes just enough, weakened his muscles just enough, that someone with my advantages could match him. Of course, I wasn't stupid enough to think I could actually defeat him in a serious fight. Bang was still S-class for a reason. But I didn't need to win, I just needed to escape with my reputation intact. "This isn't over, Garou," Bang said as I walked toward the exit. "I won't let you destroy everything I've tried to build." "What you built was already rotten," I replied without turning around. "I'm just honest enough to admit it." As I left the dojo, my phone was already buzzing with new alerts. Someone had live-streamed the entire confrontation. The internet was losing its mind. Holy shit, he fought Silver Fang. How is he still alive? Did he actually hold his own against an S-class hero? This guy is actually insane. Okay, but why is he so attractive when he's being evil? Hot face. I allowed myself a small smile. The first phase was complete. I'd established my reputation as someone who could challenge even S-class heroes. Now it was time to raise the stakes. Chapter 3, Going Viral. The video of my confrontation with Bang broke the internet. Within 6 hours, it had 50 million views across all platforms. The Hero Association's phones were ringing non-stop as panicked citizens demanded to know how someone could stand toe-to-toe with Silver Fang and walk away. I watched the chaos unfold from my new hideout, an abandoned warehouse in the industrial district. The comments section was a goldmine of information about public opinion. "This guy is terrifying, but I can't look away, the way he moves is like art." "Hero Association is useless if they can't stop one guy. Why do I find bad boys so attractive? Help, someone needs to call Tatsumaki or King." That last comment caught my attention. Tatsumaki, the tornado of terror. The most powerful psychic in the world, and according to my plans, my future companion. The thought sent an unexpected thrill through me. In my previous life, she'd just been a character on a screen. Now she was real, flesh and blood, and utterly magnificent in her power. But I was getting ahead of myself. Before I could even dream of approaching someone like Tatsumaki, I needed to prove I belonged in her league. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I had a feeling I knew who it was. "Hero Hunter," came a smooth, professional voice. "This is McCoy from the Hero Association. We'd like to discuss terms for your surrender." I laughed. "Terms? You think you're in a position to negotiate with me? We understand you have grievances with the current system. Perhaps we can find a mutually beneficial arrangement that addresses your concerns without further violence." My concerns. I let my voice drop to a dangerous whisper. My concern is that your entire organization is built on a lie. Heroes aren't protectors, they're celebrities playing dress up while real problems go unsolved. That's quite a cynical view. It's an honest view. Tell me, McCoy, how many heroes do you think could actually defeat me in single combat? Silence on the other end. I could practically hear him sweating. We have many capable. I'll make this simple, I interrupted. Send your best. Not your most popular, not your most marketable, your absolute strongest. I'll be waiting in City Z's abandoned district tomorrow at midnight. Come alone, come in groups, I don't care. But come ready to fight for your lives. I hung up and tossed the phone aside. City Z was perfect, sparsely populated, lots of ruins from previous monster attacks, and most importantly, it was Saitama's territory. I wasn't ready to face the bald hero yet, but I wanted him to hear about me. To start wondering who this new player was. The next 24 hours passed in a blur of training and preparation. I pushed Garou's body harder than ever, combining techniques from multiple martial arts schools into something entirely new. The water-stream rock-smashing fist flowed into elements of boxing, karate, judo, and styles that didn't even exist in this world. By the time midnight approached, I felt like a loaded weapon. The abandoned district of City Z looked like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Broken buildings cast long shadows in the moonlight, and the silence was broken only by the distant sound of settling debris. I didn't have to wait long. They came in formation, 5A-class heroes led by someone I recognized from the rankings. Atomic Samurai's disciple, Ian, his mechanical arm gleaming in the darkness. Behind him were sweet mask wannabes whose names I didn't bother remembering. Garou, Ian called out, his hand resting on his sword hilt. You're under arrest for assault on licensed heroes and public endangerment. Under arrest. I stepped out of the shadows, letting them see my relaxed posture. By what authority? The Hero Association isn't a government agency. You're just a private organization with good PR. We have the authority of justice, one of the others declared, striking a dramatic pose that would have looked ridiculous if it wasn't so pathetic. Justice. I tasted the word like wine. Interesting concept. Tell me, heroes, what's your definition of justice? Protecting the wealthy neighborhoods while the poor get overrun by monsters. Making sure the camera crews get good footage of your victories. Or maybe it's about maintaining the status quo that keeps you in power. Enough talk, Ian growled, drawing his blade. You want to play villain, we'll treat you like one. They attacked as a unit, their coordination impressive for such a hastily assembled team. But coordination only mattered if your individual components were strong enough to make a difference. They weren't. I flowed between their attacks like water, each movement perfectly calculated to waste their energy while preserving my own. Ian's sword work was excellent, he'd definitely learned well from Atomic Samurai, but he was still thinking like a traditional swordsman. Linear attacks, predictable patterns, too much reliance on his mechanical arm's enhanced strength. I caught his blade between my fingers, stopping his strike dead. Impossible, he breathed. Predictable, I corrected, then struck. The fight lasted less than 3 minutes. When the smoke cleared, 5A-class heroes lay unconscious in the rubble, their costumes torn and their pride shattered. I hadn't even been breathing hard. But as I stood among the defeated heroes, I sensed something that made my blood run cold. A presence watching from the shadows, power radiating from them like heat from a furnace. I turned slowly, my heart pounding as a figure emerged from the darkness. Bald, yellow costume, dead eyes that held no expression whatsoever. Saitama. Hey, he said in that flat, uninterested voice I knew so well. You're being pretty loud out here. Some of us are trying to sleep. Every instinct screamed at me to attack, to test myself against the ultimate power. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. Cosmic Garou had been able to copy Saitama's power, but he'd still lost. I needed to be stronger than that version, needed advantages the original Garou never had. Sorry about the noise, I said carefully, fighting every battle instinct in my body. I'll try to keep it down. Saitama blinked at me, clearly expecting a different response. Oh, okay then. He started to turn away, then paused. Hey, Aren't you that guy who's been fighting heroes? The one on the internet. Guilty as charged. Huh. He scratched his bald head. You seem pretty strong. Maybe we should fight sometime. The casual way he said it, like discussing the weather, sent chills down my spine. This was the power I needed to surpass. Not just physical strength, but the absolute confidence that came with being truly unbeatable. Maybe, I agreed. When I'm ready. Saitama shrugged and wandered off, apparently losing interest. I watched him disappear into the night, my hands trembling slightly from unused adrenaline. Soon, very soon, we would have that fight. And when we did, I would be the one walking away victorious. Arc 2, The First Wall. Chapter 4, Rising Threat Level. The footage of my fight with the A-class heroes broke the internet in ways the previous videos couldn't match. Professional camera crews had been stationed around City Z, expecting a spectacle, and they'd captured every moment in high definition. Watching myself fight was surreal. The fluidity of movement, the precision of each strike, the way I seemed to dance around attacks that should have been impossible to dodge. Even I was impressed, and I'd been the one doing it. But it was the aftermath that really caught the world's attention. As emergency crews rushed to treat the defeated heroes, reporters crowded around for statements. This individual represents a clear and present danger to public safety, declared a Hero Association spokesman, his face grave with concern. We're upgrading his threat level to Demon and authorizing the use of lethal force if necessary. Demon level. That meant they considered me capable of threatening entire cities. The original Garou hadn't reached that classification until much later in his career. I was ahead of schedule. The public reaction was intense. Social media exploded with debate. #Hero Hunter was trending worldwide, but so were #Team Garou and #Garou did nothing wrong. Apparently, my little speeches about heroic hypocrisy had resonated with more people than the Hero Association was comfortable with. Finally, someone calling out these fake heroes. The HA has been corrupt for years, this guy is exposing them, why am I attracted to a literal terrorist? What's wrong with me? Garou 2024 make heroes honest again. Those abs though. Fire fire fire. That last category of comments was becoming disturbingly common. Apparently, there was something about a powerful, attractive bad boy that appealed to a certain demographic. I'd have to keep that in mind for future encounters. My phone buzzed with a call from another unknown number. Hero Hunter, said a familiar voice. This is Genos. I believe we need to talk. The demon cyborg. S-class rank 14, though his actual power was much higher. More importantly, he was Saitama's disciple and roommate. This could be interesting. I'm listening. You've made quite an impression on the Hero Association. They've asked me to bring you in. And you think you can? I think I'm curious enough about your abilities to find out. There was something different in his voice, not the usual mechanical precision, but genuine intrigue. You held back against those A-class heroes. Why? Smart kid. I had indeed been holding back, not wanting to seriously injure or kill anyone. That would have crossed a line I wasn't ready to cross yet. Because I'm not a monster, I said. Not yet. Interesting. Meet me at the abandoned mall in City S tomorrow at noon. Come alone. He hung up before I could respond. Genos was taking this more seriously than I'd expected. In the original timeline, he'd never shown much interest in Garou until the very end. My actions were already changing things. Perfect. Chapter 5, Cybernetic Challenger. The abandoned mall looked like a monument to capitalism's failures. Empty storefronts stretched into darkness, their metal security gates covered in graffiti. It was the perfect place for a fight, isolated enough to avoid civilian casualties, but visible enough for any news drones that might be watching. Genos was waiting for me in the central court, his chrome body gleaming under the flickering lights. He'd positioned himself near the old fountain, giving himself multiple escape routes and clear lines of fire in all directions. Strategic thinking, I approved. Hero Hunter, he said, his glowing eyes tracking my approach. You came alone. As requested, I stopped about 20 feet away, just outside what I estimated to be his optimal combat range. Though I notice the same can't be said for you. His eyes narrowed. I'm alone. Tell that to the 3 news drones hovering outside, the Hero Association surveillance team on the roof across the street, and whoever's feeding you tactical data through that communication link in your head." For the first time, Genos looked genuinely surprised. "How did you?" "I pay attention." I relaxed into a combat stance. "The question is, are you here to fight me, or to gather intelligence for someone else?" "Both." He raised his hands, palm-mounted cannons beginning to glow. "The association wants data on your capabilities. I want to understand what makes you think you can challenge the hero system." "Fair enough." I smiled. "Just remember, you asked for this." Genos opened with a massive energy blast that would have vaporized a normal human. I was already moving before he fired, reading his targeting systems through micro-expressions and the angle of his shoulders. The blast carved a crater in the wall behind where I'd been standing. "Impossible," he muttered, recalibrating. "Your movement speed exceeds my calculations." "Your calculations are based on normal humans," I replied, closing the distance with a burst of speed that caught him off guard. My fist slammed into his solar plexus, denting his armor plating. But Genos wasn't called the demon cyborg for nothing. He absorbed the impact and countered with a point-blank incineration cannon that forced me to leap backward. The heat was incredible, easily hot enough to melt steel. Impressive, I admitted, but predictable. We traded blows at superhuman speed, his cybernetic enhancements matching my enhanced reflexes and martial arts skills. Every time he adapted to my attacks, I changed styles. Water stream rock smashing fist flowed into boxing combinations, which shifted into karate strikes, which evolved into something entirely new. Genos was analyzing everything, his computer brain cataloging my techniques and searching for patterns. But that was his weakness. He thought like a machine, always looking for logical progressions and systematic approaches. I didn't fight systematically. I fought like chaos itself. My breakthrough came when I noticed the slight delay in his left shoulder actuator. A microsecond of lag that would be invisible to anyone else, but might as well have been an eternity to someone with my enhanced perception. I feinted high, drawing his block, then struck low at the damaged joint. My strike didn't penetrate his armor, but it disrupted the servo mechanism enough to create an opening. "Analysis complete," Genos announced, his voice strangely calm despite the damage he'd sustained. "You're not human." That caught me off guard. "What?" "Your reaction times, pattern recognition, adaptive capabilities, they exceed biological limitations by orders of magnitude. You're either a cyborg with exceptional biomimetic camouflage, or something else entirely." I had to admit, his analysis was disturbingly accurate. The combination of Garou's enhanced physiology and my meta-knowledge did push me beyond normal human limits. "Does it matter?" I asked, deflecting his next cannon blast with a precisely angled strike. "It explains why you believe you can challenge the hero system. You're not bound by human limitations." His remaining functional arm transformed into some kind of multi-barreled weapon I didn't recognize. But neither am I. The weapon fired not energy, but some kind of containment net that expanded as it flew. I dodged, but barely. The thing was faster than his regular attacks and seemed to track my movement. "New prototype," Genos explained. "Designed specifically for high-speed targets." I had to admire his tactical thinking. Using our fight as a field test for new equipment showed the kind of pragmatic mindset that had made him S-class despite his relatively short career. But I had advantages he couldn't account for. "Genos," I said, suddenly stopping my evasive movements. "Do you know why heroes always lose?" He paused, weapon still tracking me but not firing. "Enlighten me." "Because you think like heroes. You fight to capture, to subdue, to minimize collateral damage. You hold back because you're afraid of what people will think if you go too far." I smiled. "But I don't have those limitations." I moved faster than I'd moved yet, closing the gap between us in a burst of speed that his sensors couldn't track. But instead of attacking him, I struck the support pillar behind him, the one holding up a significant portion of the mall's remaining structure. Concrete and steel rained down around us as the ceiling began to collapse. Genos immediately switched priorities, his remaining weapons systems focusing on destroying the larger chunks of debris before they could hit either of us. Which left him completely open to my real attack. My strike caught him in the back of the head, precisely placed to disrupt his main processing center without causing permanent damage. He crashed face first into the rubble, his systems sparking and smoking. The difference between us, I said, standing over his prone form, is that I'm willing to bring the whole system down to prove my point. Gino struggled to lift his head, one eye flickering weakly. This proves nothing. Doesn't it? I gestured at the destruction around us. How many heroes could have done what I just did? How many would have been willing to? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. When you report back to your masters, I continued, tell them this, I'm not interested in playing by their rules anymore. The next hero who comes for me better be prepared for a real fight. I walked away as emergency crews began converging on the scene. My phone was already buzzing with notifications, the news drones had captured everything, and the internet was having another collective meltdown. But there was one notification that stood out from the rest. A direct message from an account with no profile picture and no followers. Impressive display. You're stronger than the association realizes. Perhaps we should meet. A friend. I stared at the message for a long moment. There were several people it could be from, but my instincts told me this was someone significant. Someone who moved in shadows and understood power in ways the Hero Association never could. I typed back, when and where. The response came immediately, soon. When you're ready to learn what real strength looks like. Then the account vanished, as if it had never existed at all. Chapter 6, The God of High School. 3 days after my fight with Genos, everything changed. I was training in my warehouse hideout when the call came. Not on my phone, that had been destroyed in the mall collapse, but through the old landline that came with the building. A line that wasn't connected to anything, that shouldn't have been able to receive calls. But it was ringing anyway. I picked up the receiver, already knowing this wasn't going to be a normal conversation. Hello, Garou. The voice was unlike anything I'd ever heard, simultaneously ancient and timeless, carrying harmonics that seemed to bypass my ears and speak directly to my brain. We need to talk. God, I asked, though I already knew the answer. Among other things, you've been making quite an impression on this little world of ours. I wasn't surprised that God had noticed me. In the original timeline, he'd taken interest in Garou much later in the story, but my accelerated progress had apparently caught his attention early. I'm flattered. You should be. Do you know how rare it is for someone to intrigue me? There was amusement in that cosmic voice. Most beings are so predictable. They want power, or peace, or love, or revenge. Simple desires with simple solutions. And I'm different. You want to surpass me. Not defeat me, not bargain with me, not worship me, surpass me entirely. It's been eons since I encountered such audacious ambition. I felt a chill run down my spine. God could read intentions like an open book, apparently. Is that a problem? On the contrary, it's refreshing. Most who receive my power are content to become my instruments. But you plan to use whatever I give you as a stepping stone to something greater. The air in the warehouse began to shimmer, reality bending around itself until I was no longer standing in an abandoned building but in a vast cosmic space filled with swirling galaxies and impossible geometries. Welcome to my domain, God said, and now I could see him, or at least, a form my mind could process. Towering and luminous, simultaneously human and utterly alien. Here, we can speak honestly. About what? About your future. About the power you'll need to achieve your goals. About the price such power demands. I looked around the cosmic space, feeling both insignificant and strangely at peace. What kind of price? Nothing you aren't already willing to pay. God's attention focused on me like the weight of a star. You've already chosen to stand against the entire world. To mark yourself as enemy of both heroes and monsters. To sacrifice any chance of normal happiness for the sake of absolute strength. That was true. The moment I'd chosen this path, I'd given up any possibility of a quiet life. Then what more could you want? Entertainment. The word echoed through dimensions. You see, I exist beyond time, beyond causality, beyond the petty concerns that drive lesser beings. But that existence is boring, predictable, until now. I began to understand. You want me to surprise you. I want you to show me something I haven't seen before. In all my eons of existence, across countless universes and infinite timelines, I have never encountered someone with your particular combination of knowledge, ambition, and power. My knowledge. How much did he know about my previous life? Oh yes. Your memories of another world, another timeline where these events played out differently. Fascinating stuff. God's form shifted, showing glimpses of scenes I recognized from the anime. But here's what makes you truly interesting: you're not content to simply follow the script you remember. You're writing something entirely new. And you want to help me do that. I want to give you the tools to do something unprecedented. To become not just stronger than Saitama, not just stronger than myself, but to become something that transcends the very concept of strength. The offer hung in the cosmic void between us. I knew from the original story that God's gifts came with corruption, with the gradual loss of humanity and free will. But I also knew that cosmic power was necessary for my goals. What exactly are you offering? A fraction of my power. Enough to begin your real transformation. But more importantly, I'm offering you independence. God's form leaned closer. Unlike my other champions, you won't be bound by my will. You'll remain free to choose your own path, make your own decisions, pursue your own ambitions. Why would you do that? Because control is boring. Puppets dancing to my tune provide no entertainment value. But a champion who might genuinely surprise me, who might even find a way to challenge me. That's worth the risk. I considered the offer. In the original timeline, Garou had gained cosmic power through unwilling transformation. But this was different. God was offering a partnership rather than possession. There's a catch, I said. It wasn't a question. Of course, the power I'm offering will make you a target for forces you can't yet imagine. Other cosmic entities, reality-warping beings, the kind of enemies who treat universes as toys. And eventually, if you succeed in your goals, you'll have to face me as well. You're asking me to become powerful enough to fight you. I'm asking you to become interesting enough to make that fight worth having. God's laughter resonated through dimensions. So, Garou who remembers another world, do you accept my gift? I thought about Saitama's casual mention of fighting me, sometime. About Tatsumaki's incredible psychic power that I wanted to match and claim. About the cosmic battles that would come, the monsters and heroes who would test my resolve. I thought about the alternative, remaining limited to merely superhuman strength in a world where gods and dimension-hopping entities treated reality as a playground. I accept. God's smile was visible even in his cosmic form. Excellent. Try not to disappoint me. Power flooded through me like liquid starlight. Not the gradual enhancement I'd experienced since awakening in this body, but a fundamental transformation of what I was on a cellular level. I could feel my consciousness expanding, my perception deepening, my understanding of reality itself becoming clearer. But unlike the mad corruption that had consumed Garou in the original timeline, this felt controlled. Directed. I was still myself, just more. Remember, God said as the cosmic space began to fade, this is only the beginning. What you do with this gift will determine whether our eventual meeting is as allies, enemies, or something far more interesting. I found myself back in the warehouse, but everything had changed. I could see energy flowing through the walls, feel the heartbeats of every living thing within miles, sense the quantum fluctuations that held reality together. I was no longer merely superhuman. I was cosmic. And I had work to do. Arc 3, The Gathering Storm. Chapter 7, New Heights. The first thing I learned about cosmic power was that it came with cosmic awareness. Sitting in my transformed hideout, the warehouse had been restructured by my unconscious energy manipulation. I could sense every significant power source within a 100-mile radius. Saitama burned like a small sun in City Z, his strength so overwhelming it distorted space-time around him. Tatsumaki glowed with psychic energy from the Hero Association headquarters, her mind shielded but her raw power impossible to hide. Deeper underground, I sensed something ancient and hungry, probably the monster King Orochi, though he felt different from what I remembered. But most interesting was the collection of smaller lights scattered throughout the city. Potential allies, enemies, and everything in between. The pieces were on the board, and it was time to start making moves. My phone had somehow survived the cosmic transformation and was buzzing constantly. The Hero Association had detected the energy spike from my upgrade and was in full panic mode. Social media was exploding with reports of strange lights and gravitational anomalies centered on my location. Breaking. Massive energy event detected in industrial district, Hero Hunter's power level off the charts. Someone call the S-class heroes right now. Why do I find cosmic horror attractive? What is wrong with me? That last comment category had somehow gotten even more intense. Apparently, cosmic power came with its own kind of appeal. But the message that really caught my attention was from that mysterious account again, the one that had vanished after our previous exchange. Somehow, it had found a way to contact me through the cosmic static. Impressive upgrade. Ready to meet now. Coordinates attached. Come alone, as yourself. The coordinates led to an abandoned observatory on the outskirts of the city. Neutral ground, with good visibility and minimal civilian presence. Professional choice. I could have teleported there instantly. Spatial manipulation was apparently part of the cosmic package, but I decided to run. Partly to test my new physical capabilities, and partly because I enjoyed the sensation of moving through space at speeds that made sound barriers meaningless. The observatory sat on a hill overlooking the city, its dome dark against the starlit sky. As I approached, I sensed the presence waiting for me inside. Powerful, but in a completely different way from the heroes and monsters I'd encountered so far. The front door opened before I could knock. Garou. The figure in the doorway was striking, tall, elegant, with silver hair that seemed to capture starlight and eyes like molten gold. She wore a simple black dress that somehow managed to look both casual and impossibly expensive. You're even more interesting in person. I recognized her immediately, though not from the One Punch Man universe. This was someone new, someone my cosmic awareness identified as existing partially outside normal spacetime. And you are Akasha. She stepped aside, gesturing for me to enter. I suppose you could call me a collector of interesting individuals. The observatory's interior had been completely transformed. Instead of scientific equipment, the space was filled with floating platforms connected by bridges of crystallized light. Each platform held what looked like viewing screens showing different parts of the world, and possibly different worlds entirely. Impressive setup, I commented, following her to the central platform. I like to keep track of things. Akasha waved her hand, and the screens shifted to show various heroes and monsters going about their business. Especially when those things have the potential to reshape entire realities. Is that what you think I'm doing? I know that's what you're doing. She turned to face me, and I felt the weight of her attention like a physical force. The question is whether you're doing it intentionally or by accident. What's the difference? Intent determines outcome. Accident creates chaos. Intent. She smiled, and I felt something shift in the cosmic background radiation around us. Intent creates new realities. I studied her more carefully. My cosmic awareness was telling me things about her that didn't make sense. She existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Her age was measured in geological epochs, and her power signature was unlike anything I'd encountered. What exactly are you, Akasha? I'm what happens when someone successfully transcends their original reality. She gestured to the screens around us. I was once like you, trapped in a single universe, constrained by the rules of one dimension, dreaming of something greater. And now I exist everywhere and nowhere. I've seen the birth and death of galaxies, watched civilizations rise from primordial soup to cosmic significance and back to dust. I've collected the most interesting specimens from across the multiverse. The way she said, specimens, made me slightly uncomfortable. And you want to collect me? I want to offer you a choice. Akasha waved her hand again, and the screens changed to show scenes I recognized from the One Punch Man series, but different versions. You see, this reality you're in. It's one of infinite variations. In some, Saitama never becomes a hero. In others, monsters win. In a few very interesting ones, someone like you actually succeeds in their goals. Someone like me. Individuals who remember other timelines, other possibilities. You're not the first to arrive in this reality with foreknowledge, Garou. But you might be the first with the ambition and power to actually change things. She showed me screen after screen of alternate versions, Garous who died to Saitama, who were converted to heroism, who became true monsters. But none of them had achieved what I was planning. This is all very impressive, I said, but what does it have to do with me? I'm offering you something God can't, perspective. He can give you power, but he's still bound by this reality's rules. I can show you how those rules can be rewritten entirely. For a price. For partnership. Akasha stepped closer, and I could feel the cosmic energies swirling around her. Help me gather the most interesting individuals from this reality. Build your team of absolute predators, but do it with purpose. Create something that can exist beyond the constraints of this single universe. And then we see if you're strong enough to become something even God hasn't imagined. The offer was tempting, but I'd learned to be suspicious of cosmic entities bearing gifts. What makes you think I need help? Because you're already making mistakes. The screens around us shifted to show current events, heroes mobilizing, monsters stirring, forces I hadn't considered beginning to take notice of my activities. You're playing this like a video game, trying to follow patterns you remember from fiction. But this is reality, Garou. Actions have consequences you can't predict. She had a point. My cosmic upgrade had been detected by more than just the Hero Association. I could sense other powers beginning to stir, entities that hadn't been part of the original story. Show me, I said. Akasha smiled and gestured to the screens. The Hero Association has called an emergency meeting. They're discussing deploying multiple S-class heroes simultaneously. Not to capture you, to eliminate you. The screens showed the meeting in real time. I recognized several faces from the anime, but their expressions were harder, more desperate than I remembered. They weren't treating me as a temporary problem to be solved, but as an existential threat to be eliminated. That's not all. Another screen showed underground scenes I didn't recognize, monsters gathering in numbers that seemed excessive even for this world. Your displays of power have accelerated existing conflicts. The Monster Association is mobilizing earlier than they should. They see you as either a potential ally or a threat to be eliminated. And there are others. Entities that exist in the spaces between official records. Powers that the Hero Association doesn't acknowledge because they can't control them. The screens shifted to show figures I didn't recognize, individuals whose power signatures blazed with cosmic energy similar to my own. You're not the only one who's been noticed by God, Garou. But you might be the only one still sane enough to use his gifts effectively. I studied the figures on the screens. Each one radiated power that would have been impossible for normal humans to achieve, but they all had something wrong with them. Twisted by their cosmic gifts, driven mad by power they couldn't fully control. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to succeed. Not for altruistic reasons, I simply find your particular brand of ambition entertaining. Akasha moved to stand beside me, her presence both comforting and slightly dangerous. But success requires more than raw power. It requires allies, strategy, and most importantly, understanding of what you're truly up against. And you can provide that understanding. I can provide perspective. The rest is up to you. She turned to face me directly, her golden eyes reflecting depths I couldn't fathom. So, Garou, are you ready to begin your real education? Chapter 8, The First Recruit. 3 days after my meeting with Akasha, I stood on a rooftop in City A, watching my first potential recruit destroy a convenience store with casual brutality. Fubuki, the blizzard of hell, wasn't supposed to be like this. In the original timeline, she'd been ambitious and sometimes ruthless, but still fundamentally heroic. This version was different, darker. Her psychic powers tore through the store's interior like invisible claws, shredding everything while leaving the structure intact. Please, the store owner begged, cowering behind what remained of his counter. I can pay more protection money. Just don't. It's not about money, Fubuki said, her voice cold enough to freeze fire. It's about respect. About understanding that there are consequences for disrespecting the Blizzard Group. She lifted him telekinetically, holding him suspended 3 feet off the ground. The man's face was turning blue as her psychic grip tightened around his throat. Time to intervene. I dropped through the store's skylight, landing silently behind Fubuki. She spun around instantly, her psychic barriers flaring to life around her. Who? She stopped mid-sentence as she recognized me. The hero hunter. Blizzard of hell. I nodded respectfully. We need to talk. Her psychic pressure increased, filling the air with visible distortions. If you're here to hunt me, you picked the wrong target. I'm not some wannabe hero playing dress up. No, I agreed, you're something much more interesting. The suspended store owner was making choking sounds. With a casual gesture, Fubuki dropped him to the floor, where he gasped for breath but was otherwise unharmed. You have 30 seconds to explain why I shouldn't crush you where you stand, she said. Because I'm here to offer you something you've wanted your entire life, I replied. A chance to surpass your sister. Fubuki's psychic aura flickered, her concentration disrupted by pure shock. What did you just say? Tatsumaki. The tornado of terror. Rank 2 in the S class. The psychic prodigy who's overshadowed you since childhood. I took a step closer, ignoring the dangerous energy swirling around her. You've spent years trying to prove you're more than just her little sister. Building your own group, establishing your own territory, fighting your own battles. But deep down, you know the truth. Shut up. Her voice was barely a whisper, but the psychic pressure in the room doubled. You'll never surpass her playing by the current rules. The Hero Association will always see you as the inferior copy. The public will always compare you to her. Your own subordinates follow you out of fear, not respect. Shut up. The remaining windows in the store exploded outward as her power spiked beyond her normal limits. But I'd felt that power before, during my meeting with God. Fubuki had been touched by cosmic energy, just like the other figures Akasha had shown me. The question was whether she was still sane enough to use it effectively. But what if I told you there was another way? I continued, my own cosmic aura flaring to match hers. What if I told you I could help you become not just stronger than Tatsumaki, but strong enough to reshape the entire system that created this rivalry? The store fell silent except for the sound of settling glass. Fubuki stared at me with wide eyes, her psychic barriers flickering as she processed what I'd said. You're insane, she said finally. No one becomes stronger than Tatsumaki. She's a force of nature. She's powerful, I agreed. But she's also limited by her own psychology, her need for control, her fear of genuine connection. Those limitations make her predictable. And predictable opponents can be surpassed. I let my own cosmic energy become visible, dark flames of power that made the air itself ripple. Fubuki's eyes widened as she felt the sheer magnitude of what I was carrying. How? She whispered. By joining me. By becoming part of something that transcends the petty hierarchies of heroes and monsters. I extended my hand toward her. I'm building a new kind of organization, Fubuki. Not heroes, not monsters, but something that encompasses the best aspects of both. The absolute predators who will reshape this world according to our vision. And you want me. I want your ambition, your intelligence, your willingness to do what's necessary to achieve your goals. I smiled. And yes, I want your power. But more than that, I want to give you the chance to become what you've always known you could be. Fubuki studied my outstretched hand like it was a loaded weapon. What would joining you mean? It means abandoning the Hero Association's rules. It means accepting that sometimes the ends justify the means. It means being willing to fight not just monsters, but heroes too if they stand in our way. That's not heroism. No, I agreed. It's something better. It's justice without compromise, strength without apology, power used for its own sake rather than for public approval. I could see the war playing out behind her eyes. Years of frustration with the system, decades of living in her sister's shadow, the growing awareness that her cosmic enhancement meant she no longer had to accept the limitations others imposed on her. If I say yes, she said slowly, what happens to my group? They can come with us if they're strong enough. If not, I shrugged, you'll outgrow them soon anyway. Real power doesn't need weak followers, it attracts equals. And Tatsumaki will be dealt with when the time comes. Not destroyed, that would be wasteful. But shown her place in the new order we're going to create. Fubuki was quiet for a long moment, her psychic energy swirling in complex patterns as she weighed her options. Finally, she reached out and took my hand. The moment our powers touched, something extraordinary happened. Instead of clashing or competing, they began to resonate with each other. My cosmic flames intertwined with her psychic energy, creating something entirely new, a hybrid power that was greater than the sum of its parts. Welcome to the Absolute Predators, I said as reality warped around our joined hands. Let's go change the world. Chapter 9, Sisters and Rivals. The Hero Association headquarters had never seen anything like it. I materialized in the center of their main conference room via spatial manipulation, Fubuki appearing beside me in a swirl of psychic energy. The emergency meeting was in full swing, with half the S-class heroes present and various administrators looking appropriately panicked. Gentlemen, ladies, I said pleasantly, ignoring the weapons being drawn around us. Sorry to interrupt, but we need to talk. Atomic Samurai's blade was already halfway out of its sheath. Hero Hunter, you've made a serious mistake coming here. Have I? I glanced around the room, my cosmic awareness cataloging the power levels of everyone present. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're the ones who made the mistake. That's when they noticed Fubuki standing beside me, her hero costume replaced by something that looked like a fusion of military tactical gear in high fashion. Dark and practical, but undeniably elegant. Fubuki. Atomic Samurai's sword stopped moving. What are you doing here? What she should have done years ago, I answered before she could speak. Choosing the winning side. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Several heroes reached for communication devices, probably trying to contact Tatsumaki. But they were too late, I'd already sensed her approaching at high speed. You turned her, said a voice from the head of the table. I recognized the speaker as one of the Hero Association's top executives, though his name escaped me. Somehow, you corrupted one of our heroes. Corrupted? I laughed. I liberated her, showed her what she could become without your artificial limitations holding her back. The ceiling exploded inward as Tatsumaki arrived in her typical dramatic fashion. Debris fell around her in a perfect sphere, held in place by her psychic power as she descended like some kind of avenging angel. Fubuki. Her voice carried enough psychic force to crack the reinforced walls. What have you done? For a moment, the sisters simply stared at each other. Tatsumaki in her usual black dress, power radiating from her like heat from a furnace. Fubuki in her new attire, standing calmly beside the man who'd been declared their greatest threat. Hello, sister, Fubuki said with a small smile. You look upset. Upset. Tatsumaki's aura flared, and several windows shattered throughout the building. You've allied yourself with a terrorist. A monster who's been hunting heroes. I've allied myself with someone who sees my potential, Fubuki replied calmly. Someone who doesn't treat me like a disappointing child who needs constant protection. Because I actually care about you. Tatsumaki shot back. I've spent years keeping you safe from threats you couldn't handle. Safe. Fubuki's own psychic energy began to manifest, dark and writhing compared to her sister's brilliant green aura. You've spent years keeping me weak. Telling me I'm not ready, that I need to stay in B class for my own good, that I should be grateful for your protection. The psychic pressure in the room was becoming dangerous. Lesser heroes were backing toward the exits, and even the S-class members looked nervous. Ladies, I interjected, perhaps we could continue this family therapy session somewhere with fewer innocent bystanders. Both sisters turned their attention to me, and for a moment I felt the combined weight of their psychic focus. It was intense. You, Tatsumaki snarled, rising higher into the air. You did this. You poisoned her mind against me. I simply showed her what she was capable of, I replied. The poisoning was already there, Tatsumaki. Years of condescension, of being told she wasn't strong enough, smart enough, worthy enough to stand beside you. She isn't. Tatsumaki's power spiked, and the entire building began to shake. She's my little sister, and I won't let you use her in whatever sick game you're playing. Then prove it, Fubuki said quietly, her voice cutting through her sister's rage like a blade. Fight me. Show everyone here which of us is really stronger. The room went dead silent. Even Tatsumaki seemed shocked by the direct challenge. Fubuki, you don't understand what you're. I understand perfectly. Fubuki rose into the air, matching her sister's height for the first time in their lives. I understand that I've spent my entire career being compared to you. Being told I'm the weaker sister, the less important hero, the one who needs protection. Her power continued to build, and I could see the moment when everyone in the room realized what was happening. This wasn't the Fubuki they knew. This was someone transformed, enhanced, elevated to a level that might actually challenge the tornado of terror. But I'm not that person anymore, Fubuki continued. I've been given power beyond anything you can imagine. And I'm going to use it to show you, and everyone else, that the age of your supremacy is over. Tatsumaki's expression shifted from anger to something approaching fear. Not fear of physical harm, she was too powerful for that, but fear of losing the relationship that defined so much of her identity. Fubuki, please, don't do this. It's already done, sister. The question is whether you're going to accept it gracefully, or whether I'm going to have to take my place by force. The psychic tension in the room reached critical mass. I could feel both sisters preparing to unleash power that could level city blocks. Time to intervene before things got completely out of hand. As entertaining as this is, I said, my own cosmic aura flaring to match both of theirs, I think we're losing sight of the bigger picture. Both sisters turned to look at me, their combined attention like standing at the center of a hurricane. You're both missing the point, I continued. This isn't about which sister is stronger. It's about what happens when two of the most powerful psychics in the world stop fighting each other and start working together. Working together. Tatsumaki's voice was incredulous. With you. Think about it logically, I said. The Hero Association has failed to solve the fundamental problems plaguing this world. Monster attacks are increasing in frequency and severity. Hero corruption is rampant. The gap between rich and poor continues to widen while costumed celebrities get rich fighting symptoms instead of causes. I gestured to the executives cowering at their table. These people don't care about justice. They care about ratings, merchandise sales, and maintaining their own power. They've turned heroism into entertainment and wonder why things keep getting worse. And your solution is what? Tatsumaki demanded. Destroy everything and start over. My solution is to build something better. An organization that isn't bound by committees, focus groups, and public opinion polls. A group of individuals powerful enough to actually solve problems instead of just managing them. I looked directly at both sisters. Imagine what you could accomplish if you weren't constantly competing with each other. If you were working toward the same goals instead of fighting over scraps of approval from people who will never truly appreciate what you're capable of. For a moment, just a moment, I saw something like longing in Tatsumaki's eyes. The dream of a world where she didn't have to be the lone guardian against cosmic threats. Where her sister could stand beside her as an equal rather than someone to be protected. But then her barriers slammed back into place. Pretty words, she said coldly. But you're still a terrorist who's corrupted my sister and declared war on the hero system. Then stop me, I challenged. Right here, right now. Show everyone what the tornado of terror can do when she's truly angry. The building around us began to groan as Tatsumaki's power built beyond anything she'd displayed in public before. The air itself was becoming visible as psychic energy distorted reality. But before she could attack, Fubuki moved between us. Enough, she said firmly. This ends now. Both Tatsumaki and I paused, surprised by her intervention. Sister, Fubuki continued, you have a choice. You can fight me here, in front of all these people, and prove that the only way you know how to solve problems is through violence. Or you can come with us and see what we're actually trying to build. Come with you. Tatsumaki's voice was barely a whisper. Yes, join us. Help us create something better than this broken system we've all been trapped in. Fubuki extended her hand toward her sister. Stop being the tornado of terror and start being something more. The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Everyone in the room was holding their breath, waiting to see which way the most powerful psychic in the world would choose. Finally, Tatsumaki spoke. Show me, she said quietly. Show me what you're trying to build. But if it's not what you claim, if you're just using my sister for your own ends, then you'll destroy me, I finished. I understand. And I accept those terms. Tatsumaki descended slowly, her power still visible but no longer threatening to tear the building apart. This isn't over, she warned the Hero Association executives. But it's not beginning here either. She walked over to where Fubuki and I stood, her expression unreadable. One chance, she said. Show me why I should betray everything I've ever believed in. I smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. And with that, I teleported all three of us away, leaving the Hero Association to deal with the aftermath of losing two of their most powerful heroes in a single day. The game was changing, and we were just getting started. Chapter 10, The Psychic Sisters United. Our destination was the transformed warehouse that served as my base of operations. But I'd made some modifications since my cosmic upgrade. The space now existed partially outside normal reality, expanded beyond what its external dimensions should have allowed. Tatsumaki materialized first, her psychic senses immediately cataloging our surroundings. Spatial manipulation, she muttered. The building is bigger inside than outside. How did you? Cosmic power has its perks, I said as Fubuki appeared beside her. Welcome to the headquarters of the Absolute Predators. The main chamber looked like something from a science fiction movie. Holographic displays showed real-time data on hero activities, monster sightings, and global events. Multiple levels connected by platforms of crystallized energy provided space for training, planning, and relaxation. And throughout it all, cosmic energy flowed like visible streams of power. This is impossible, Tatsumaki said, though she sounded more intrigued than upset. The amount of energy required to maintain this space should be beyond human capability, I finished. Lucky I'm not entirely human anymore. Fubuki was exploring the space with obvious delight, her psychic senses mapping every detail. It's beautiful, she said. Like a palace built from pure thought. It's a tool, I corrected gently. Everything here serves a purpose in our mission. Which is what, exactly? Tatsumaki demanded. She was maintaining her skeptical facade, but I could sense her genuine curiosity through her psychic emanations. Watch and learn. I gestured to the main display, which shifted to show news footage from around the world. Tell me what you see. The screens showed the usual chaos, monster attacks in multiple cities, heroes responding with varying degrees of success, civilians caught in the crossfire. Standard stuff for this world. I see the same problems we've always faced, Tatsumaki said. Monsters attacking, heroes responding, the cycle continuing. Look deeper, I urged. What do you see behind the obvious? Fubuki was the first to catch on. The response times, she said slowly. They're getting worse. And the heroes, they're making more mistakes. Exactly. I highlighted specific incidents on the display. Hero response times have increased by 40% over the past year. Civilian casualties are up 60%. Property damage costs are bankrupting entire cities. The system is failing, Tatsumaki said, though she sounded reluctant to admit it. The system failed long ago, I corrected. What we're seeing now are the consequences of that failure becoming impossible to ignore. I shifted the display to show internal Hero Association documents, budget reports, performance reviews, private communications between executives. How did you get access to, Tatsumaki began. Cosmic awareness has its advantages. But look at what they're really concerned about. I highlighted key passages in the documents. Merchandising revenue down 15%. Public approval ratings dropping. Stock prices for hero-sponsored products in decline. They're treating this like a business, Fubuki said with disgust. They are a business. Heroism is just their product. I turned to face both sisters. And like any business, they're more interested in protecting their market position than actually solving the problems they claim to address. The displays shifted again, showing data I'd compiled on monster attack patterns, hero deployment strategies, and the correlation between media coverage and resource allocation. High-profile areas with good camera access get priority response, I explained. Poor neighborhoods with fewer social media users wait longer for help. Monsters that provide good footage for highlight reels get more attention than those causing actual humanitarian crises. Tatsumaki was studying the data with the analytical mind that had made her such an effective hero. These patterns, they're real, but that doesn't mean the solution is to tear down the entire system. Doesn't it? I challenged. What's your alternative? Work within the system to gradually reform it. How many people die while we wait for committees to approve changes that might never come? What you're proposing is vigilantism, Tatsumaki said. Taking the law into your own hands. What I'm proposing is effectiveness. Results over process. Justice over procedure. I gestured to the space around us. This is what's possible when you stop asking permission to do the right thing. Fubuki moved to stand beside me, her psychic energy resonating with mine. Sister, you've spent years working within their rules. How much have you actually been able to change? Tatsumaki was quiet for a long moment. Not enough, she admitted finally. But that doesn't mean abandoning everything we've fought for. I'm not asking you to abandon your principles, I said. I'm asking you to expand them. To consider that maybe true justice requires more than just following orders and hoping for the best. I activated another display, this one showing global satellite imagery. Look at the bigger picture, Tatsumaki. Monster attacks aren't random, they're increasing in both frequency and coordination. Something is driving them, organizing them. The Monster Association, she said immediately. We know about them. You know about some of them. But there are others. Powers operating beyond the Hero Association's awareness or capability to address. I showed her images Akasha had shared with me, the cosmic enhanced individuals, the entities that existed in the spaces between official records. Threats that require responses your organization can't or won't authorize. Tatsumaki studied the images, her expression growing troubled. These power signatures, they're similar to yours. Because we're all products of the same source. God has been handing out cosmic upgrades to individuals he finds interesting. Most of them have been driven mad by the power, or corrupted into serving his agenda directly. And you? I'm still me, still sane, still focused on my original goals, just with the power to actually achieve them now. I looked directly into her green eyes. The question is whether you're going to help me stop the others before they destabilize reality itself. The silence stretched between us as Tatsumaki processed everything she'd seen and heard. I could feel her internal struggle, the conflict between her ingrained loyalty to the system and her growing awareness of its fundamental flaws. If I agree to this, she said slowly, what guarantees do I have that you won't become the very thing we're fighting against? None, I admitted. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I'm gaining more power every day. But here's the thing, you'll be there to stop me if I cross that line. Me. You and Fubuki both. That's the beauty of this arrangement, we each have the power to check the others. No single individual makes all the decisions. No one person becomes the sole arbiter of justice. Fubuki stepped forward, taking her sister's hand. We could be partners, Tatsumaki. Equals. Working together instead of competing for scraps of approval from people who never really understood what we were capable of. I watched the moment when Tatsumaki's resistance finally cracked. The longing in her eyes was unmistakable, the dream of not bearing the weight of the world alone, of having someone who could truly stand beside her as an equal. Show me your plan, she said quietly. All of it. No secrets, no hidden agendas. If I'm going to betray everything I've ever believed in, I want to know exactly what I'm betraying it for. I smiled and gestured to the displays around us. With pleasure. But I should warn you, once you see the full scope of what we're planning, there's no going back to the comfortable illusions of your old life. I stopped being comfortable with illusions the day I realized I was strong enough to reshape mountains but couldn't prevent my sister from feeling inadequate, Tatsumaki replied. Show me what real change looks like. And so I did. Arc 4, Building the New Order. Chapter 11, Recruitment Drive. With the Psychic Sisters now part of the Absolute Predators, it was time to expand our roster. But I wasn't interested in just anyone, I wanted individuals who could complement our existing abilities while bringing their own unique strengths to the organization. My first target was obvious, Sonic. Speedo sounds Sonic. The ninja had always been obsessed with fighting Saitama, viewing the bald hero as his ultimate rival. But in this reality, things were different. Sonic had encountered other cosmic enhanced individuals during his mercenary work, and the experience had changed him. I found him in the ruins of an abandoned industrial complex, moving through a training routine that would have been impossible for a normal human. His speed had increased dramatically since the last time I'd seen footage of him, and there was something different about his movements, more precise, more deadly. "Sonic," I called out, making no attempt at stealth. "We need to talk." He stopped mid-movement, appearing beside me in a blur of motion. "The hero hunter. I was wondering when you'd show up. Were you a new player making waves, gathering powerful allies, disrupting the established order?" Sonic smiled, and there was something predatory about it. Of course I was interested. He looked different from the anime version I remembered. Still lean and fast, but there was a new edge to him, a darkness that hadn't been there before. His traditional ninja outfit had been replaced by something that looked almost organic, as if it had grown rather than been manufactured. "I take it you've had some encounters of your own," I said, noting the cosmic energy signature emanating from his new equipment. "You could say that." Sonic's expression grew serious. 3 months ago, I was hired to eliminate a target that turned out to be one of those cosmic enhanced freaks you've been warning people about. The job went poorly. How poorly? He nearly killed me. Would have, if not for this. Sonic gestured to his new outfit. Turns out there are people out there who've been preparing for this cosmic escalation. They gave me the tools to survive, and in return, you work for them. I gather intelligence on cosmic enhanced individuals. Track their movements, assess their threat levels, occasionally eliminate the ones who pose immediate dangers to reality. I felt a chill. This was beyond what Akasha had shown me. There were other organizations operating in the shadows, other players in the cosmic game I hadn't accounted for. "And what's your assessment of me?" "Dangerous, but controllable. Ambitious, but not insane. You're gathering allies instead of just accumulating power, which suggests you have long-term goals beyond simple destruction." Sonic circled me slowly, his enhanced speed allowing him to move faster than normal perception could follow. "The question is whether those goals align with preventing a cosmic apocalypse." "What do you know about a cosmic apocalypse?" "More than you might expect." Sonic stopped moving, appearing directly in front of me. "The people I work for have been tracking cosmic incursions across multiple realities. They've seen what happens when beings with God-level power start reshaping universes according to their personal vision." He showed me a device that looked like a cross between a smartphone and a piece of alien technology. The screen displayed images that made my cosmic awareness recoil, realities twisted beyond recognition, universes where the fundamental laws of physics had been rewritten by mad gods. "This is what happens when cosmic power goes unchecked," Sonic explained. "Reality becomes malleable, causality breaks down, and entire species cease to exist because some entity decided they were aesthetically displeasing. And you think I'm heading in that direction? I think you're smart enough not to. But intelligence and wisdom aren't the same thing, and power has a way of eroding both." Sonic tucked the device away. "Which is why I'm going to make you an offer. I'm listening. Join our organization, not as a subordinate, but as a partner. Help us prevent the kind of cosmic catastrophe that's already consumed dozens of parallel realities. And if I refuse, then we'll have to treat you as a potential threat to universal stability." Sonic's hand moved to rest on what looked like a sword hilt, though I couldn't see the actual blade. "Nothing personal, just business." I considered his offer carefully. On one hand, having allies with multiversal experience and resources could be invaluable. On the other hand, joining another organization meant accepting limitations on my actions, something I wasn't prepared to do. "Counter-offer," I said. "You join the absolute predators. Bring your knowledge and resources with you. In return, you get to work with individuals who share your goal of preventing cosmic catastrophe while maintaining the freedom to operate according to your own judgment." Sonic was quiet for a moment. "You want me to betray my current employers? I want you to choose the option that gives you the best chance of actually succeeding in your mission." I gestured to the ruined industrial complex around us. "How much progress have you made working within their constraints? How many cosmic threats have you actually neutralized?" "2, he admitted reluctantly. "But they were minor threats. The major ones are still out there, growing stronger while you follow protocols and report to committees." I let my cosmic aura become visible, dark flames dancing around my form. "This is what real power looks like, Sonic. Not the kind that asks permission, but the kind that acts when action is needed." And the kind that could destroy reality if used incorrectly. Which is why I'm not working alone. The Psychic Sisters provide a check on my power, just as I provide a check on theirs. No one individual makes unilateral decisions about cosmic-scale threats. Sonic studied me intently, and I could almost see him weighing the options. Stay with his current organization and continue making minimal progress against threats that were growing exponentially, or join us and risk being part of something that could either save reality or destroy it. Show me, he said finally. Show me what you've built, what you're planning, who else you're working with. If I'm going to bet my existence on your organization, I want to know exactly what I'm betting on. Fair enough. I opened a spatial rift back to our headquarters. But once you see the full scope of what we're capable of, you'll understand why half measures aren't going to be sufficient anymore. Sonic stepped through the rift without hesitation, his enhanced senses immediately cataloging the transformed warehouse space. I followed him through, sealing the portal behind us. Impressive, he said, studying the holographic displays and impossible architecture. This level of spatial manipulation should be beyond even cosmic enhanced individuals. It would be, if I were working alone. Tatsumaki descended from one of the upper platforms, her psychic energy interacting with the cosmic forces that maintained the space. But combined psychic and cosmic power can achieve things neither could accomplish independently. The Tornado of Terror. Sonic nodded respectfully. I heard rumors that you'd joined them, but I didn't believe it until now. I had my doubts too, Tatsumaki admitted. But the evidence is hard to argue with. She gestured to the main display, which was showing real-time tracking data on cosmic enhanced individuals worldwide. In the past week alone, we've identified 17 new cosmic signatures. 3 of them are approaching power levels that could threaten continental stability. Your old employers knew about them. I asked Sonic. Some of them. But their response protocols require extensive analysis and committee approval before any action can be taken. Sonic's expression was grim. By the time they finish deliberating, most threats have either grown beyond containment or moved to locations where intervention would cause unacceptable collateral damage. And our response protocol, Fubuki said, appearing beside her sister, is to identify the threat and neutralize it immediately. Neutralize how? Sonic asked. Cosmic enhanced individuals aren't exactly easy to kill. Who said anything about killing? I replied. Most of them are driven mad by power they can't control. Take away the madness, and you're left with potentially valuable allies. I showed him footage from our most recent operation, a cosmic enhanced individual who had been reshaping downtown City B according to his delusions. Instead of destroying him, we'd used a combination of psychic therapy and cosmic energy manipulation to restore his sanity. He's now working with the city planning department to undo the damage he caused, I explained. Turns out someone with reality-shaping powers can be very useful for urban renewal projects when they're mentally stable. Sonic studied the footage with obvious interest. Rehabilitation instead of elimination. It's surprisingly compassionate for a terrorist organization. We're not terrorists, Fubuki said firmly. We're reformers. Sometimes reform requires dramatic action, but the goal is always to build something better than what existed before. Show him the sanctuary protocol, Tatsumaki suggested. I nodded and shifted the displays to show another of our recent innovations, a pocket dimension designed specifically for cosmic enhanced individuals who needed time to adjust to their new abilities without risking harm to themselves or others. We call it the sanctuary, I explained. A space where newly enhanced individuals can learn to control their powers under guidance from others who've been through the same process. You're building a school for gods, Sonic said, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and concern. We're building a support network for people who've been thrust into roles they never asked for, I corrected. Most cosmic enhancement is involuntary. These individuals wake up one day with the power to reshape reality and no idea how to use it responsibly. And the ones who refuse help. Then we neutralize them, Tatsumaki said bluntly. But we try rehabilitation first. It's amazing how many, irredeemable monsters, become reasonable people when they're not constantly fighting for psychological survival. Sonic spent the next several hours reviewing our files, studying our methods, and asking increasingly technical questions about cosmic power management and multiversal threat assessment. His expertise was obvious. Whatever organization he'd been working for had given him a comprehensive education in cosmic-scale dangers. Your approach is unconventional, he said finally. But the results speak for themselves. In 3 weeks, you've successfully rehabilitated 4 cosmic-enhanced individuals and neutralized 2 others without casualties. My former employers neutralized 7 in the same time period, with total casualties in the thousands. Efficiency through understanding rather than brute force, I said. It helps that we actually comprehend what we're dealing with. There's still the question of ultimate goals, Sonic continued. Preventing cosmic catastrophe is one thing. But what happens after? What does your ideal world look like? I glanced at Tatsumaki and Fubuki, both of whom nodded for me to continue. A world where power is used responsibly. Where conflicts are resolved through strength and wisdom rather than politics and committee decisions. Where individuals capable of cosmic-scale impact work together instead of competing for resources and recognition. Rule by the strong, in other words. Leadership by the competent, I corrected. The current system gives power to politicians, bureaucrats, and corporate executives who have no understanding of the forces they're trying to regulate. We're proposing that decisions affecting cosmic-scale issues be made by people who actually possess cosmic-scale power. And what about normal humans? The ones who don't have psychic abilities or cosmic enhancement. They benefit from living in a world where cosmic threats are handled efficiently instead of being allowed to escalate into civilization-ending disasters, Fubuki said. Most people don't want to rule the world. They want to live their lives without worrying about reality being rewritten by some mad god having a bad day. Sonic nodded slowly. It's not perfect, but it's better than the alternatives I've seen. He looked around the transformed warehouse, then back at us. All right, I'm in, but I have conditions. Name them. First, I maintain contact with my former employers. Not as a spy, but as a liaison. They have resources and information we could use, and burning bridges with them would be strategically foolish. Agreed, as long as operational security isn't compromised. Second, I want veto power over any operations that could cause multiversal instability. I've seen what happens when cosmic entities start reshaping fundamental forces, and I won't be party to creating another dead reality. Also agreed, we're trying to prevent cosmic catastrophes, not cause them. Third, if any of you start showing signs of cosmic madness or power corruption, I reserve the right to take whatever action is necessary to stop you. Tatsumaki raised an eyebrow. Including lethal force. Especially lethal force. I've seen what corrupted cosmic beings can do to entire universes. Personal relationships don't override multiversal survival. I extended my hand toward him. Agreed. Welcome to the absolute predators, Sonic. Try not to kill us unless we really deserve it. He shook my hand, his enhanced speed allowing him to move at normal velocity for once. Just give me good reasons not to, and we'll get along fine. Chapter 12, The Monster King's Gambit. Our first major test came sooner than expected. 3 days after Sonic officially joined our organization, the Monster Association launched their most ambitious attack yet, a coordinated assault on multiple cities designed to stretch the Hero Association's resources to their breaking point. But this wasn't the Monster Association I remembered from the anime. This version was more organized, more strategic, and significantly more powerful. Instead of the chaotic mass assault that had characterized the original timeline, they were conducting precise strikes against critical infrastructure while deploying their strongest members to tie up S-class heroes. It's brilliant, Tatsumaki admitted as we reviewed the attack patterns from our command center. They're forcing the Hero Association to spread their forces thin while consolidating their own power in defensible positions. More than brilliant, Sonic added, studying intelligence reports from his former employers. They're using tactics that shouldn't be possible for a monster organization. This level of coordination suggests either exceptional leadership or outside assistance. I was studying the data with growing concern. The Monster Association's power levels were significantly higher than they should have been at this point in the timeline. Several of their cadre-level members were showing cosmic enhancement signatures. God's been busy, I muttered. He's not just empowering individual humans anymore, he's upgrading entire organizations. Which means this is a test, Fubuki realized. He wants to see how we respond to a large-scale threat that can't be solved with individual power alone. Or it's a distraction, Sonic suggested. Keep us focused on the obvious threat while something else moves in the shadows. All three possibilities were equally concerning. But as the main display updated with casualty reports from the attacked cities, I realized that motivation didn't matter as much as response. We're going, I declared. All of us. Together. Against an entire monster army? Tatsumaki asked. Against a problem that needs solving. I began pulling up tactical data on the Monster Association's positions. The Hero Association is following their standard playbook, send individual heroes to handle individual threats. But this situation requires coordinated response from a unified team. The kind of team they don't have, Fubuki added. But we do. The plan I outlined was straightforward. Use our combined abilities to strike at the Monster Association's command structure while simultaneously protecting civilians and neutralizing their strongest combatants. Instead of trying to be everywhere at once, we would focus our efforts where they could have maximum impact. Tatsumaki, you handle area denial and battlefield control. Use your psychic abilities to create safe zones for civilians while preventing monster reinforcements from reaching key positions. Understood. Fubuki, you coordinate with local heroes and emergency services. Your organizational skills and psychic communication abilities make you perfect for managing the chaos. What about their cadre-level members? She asked. Sonic and I will handle them directly. Speed and cosmic power should be sufficient to neutralize individual threats while you two manage the larger tactical situation. And if we encounter Orochi? Sonic asked. Then we find out just how effective cosmic power is against a monster king. The spatial rift I opened deposited us directly above City Z, where the Monster Association had established their primary base of operations. The scene below was chaos, monsters rampaging through streets while heroes tried desperately to contain the damage. But I could see the pattern behind the chaos. The monsters weren't just attacking randomly, they were systematically destroying infrastructure while herding civilians toward specific locations. It was evacuation disguised as assault, which meant they had something planned for the civilians they were gathering. Hostage situation, I announced through our psychic communication link. They're not trying to kill everyone immediately, they want leverage. Leverage for what? Tatsumaki asked as she began establishing psychic barriers around civilian groups. Probably to force the Hero Association into a direct confrontation on unfavorable terms, Sonic replied, his enhanced perception allowing him to track multiple monster movements simultaneously. Classic siege warfare tactics. Then we don't give them that confrontation, I decided. We end this before they can consolidate their position. I dropped toward the Monster Association's base like a falling star, cosmic energy trailing behind me in dark flames. The monsters below looked up just in time to see me crash through their defensive perimeter with enough force to create a small crater. The first wave of defenders was disappointingly weak, mostly wolf and tiger level threats that went down with single strikes. But as I moved deeper into their base, the opposition became more serious. Well, came a familiar voice from the shadows. The famous hero hunter, finally decided to visit us. Gyoro emerged from the darkness, the puppet form concealing the true monster king behind it. But something was different, the psychic energy emanating from the creature was far stronger than it should have been, and there were cosmic undertones that made my enhanced senses recoil. Gyoro, I said, settling into a combat stance. Or should I say, psychos. I know what you really are. Do you? The puppet's eyes glowed with malevolent energy. Because I'm not entirely sure myself anymore. Recent enhancements have made self-knowledge somewhat complicated. The cosmic signature was unmistakable. God had been here, had offered power, and psychos had been foolish enough to accept it. Let me guess, I continued, you thought you could use cosmic power to achieve your vision of monster supremacy. How's that working out for you? Better than expected, actually. Gyoro's form began to shift and expand, revealing glimpses of the true horror beneath. Thanks to my patron's gifts, I can offer you something your little rebellion can't achieve on its own. Which is victory. Real victory, not just the illusion of progress you've been selling yourself. The puppet form dissolved entirely, revealing Psychos in her enhanced state, part psychic, part monster, part cosmic abomination. Join us, Garou. Help us reshape this world into something better than the heroic farce it's become. I had to admit, the offer was tempting from a purely tactical standpoint. The Monster Association's resources were considerable, and their goals weren't entirely incompatible with my own. But there was a fundamental problem with their approach. You're still thinking in terms of heroes versus monsters, I said. Good guys, bad guys, winners and losers. That binary thinking is part of what's wrong with this world. And your alternative is evolution beyond those categories entirely. I let my cosmic power flare, meeting her enhanced psychic abilities with equal force. I'm not interested in replacing hero tyranny with monster tyranny. I want to create something that transcends both. The battle that followed was unlike anything I'd experienced since gaining cosmic power. Psychos had been formidable even before her enhancement, but with God's power backing her psychic abilities, she was approaching the level of a natural disaster. Psychic constructs materialized around me, impossible geometries that attacked from multiple dimensions simultaneously. I countered with cosmic flames that burned through the fabric of reality itself, our clashing energies warping the space around us. But as impressive as her power was, Psychos had the same fundamental weakness as most beings who accepted God's gifts. She was fighting alone. Tatsumaki, I called through our psychic link. I need support. Psychos has gone full cosmic horror. The response came as a wave of green psychic energy that swept through the Monster Association base like a tsunami. Tatsumaki's power, refined by years of practice and enhanced by proximity to my cosmic abilities, cut through Psychos' defenses like a sword through paper. Impossible, Psychos gasped as her cosmic constructs began to unravel. You're just humans with delusions of grandeur. No, I replied, combining my cosmic power with Tatsumaki's psychic abilities to create something entirely new. We're the next step in evolution. And evolution requires leaving the past behind. The final strike was beautiful in its precision, cosmic fire guided by psychic control, reshaping Psychos on a fundamental level rather than simply destroying her. When the energy faded, she was still alive, but the cosmic corruption had been burned away. What did you do to me? She whispered, her voice human again for the first time in months. Gave you a choice, I said, extending my hand toward her. You can continue down the path of cosmic madness, or you can join us in building something better than what either heroes or monsters could achieve alone. Psychos stared at my outstretched hand for a long moment, then slowly reached out to take it. The Monster Association is finished, she said quietly. Without God's power backing us, we can't sustain this level of organization. Then help us create something that doesn't need God's power to function, I replied. Help us build a future where the conflict between heroes and monsters becomes irrelevant. As Psychos accepted my offer, I felt the cosmic forces around us shift. God's attention was no longer focused solely on empowering individual champions, he was beginning to take direct interest in the organization we were building. Which meant the real challenges were just beginning. Chapter 13, The God's Interest. The aftermath of the Monster Association's defeat was unlike anything the world had seen before. Instead of the usual cycle of heroes celebrating victory while monsters retreated to plot revenge, something unprecedented happened. Former enemies began working together. Psychos had kept her word. Using her knowledge of Monster Association operations, she helped us identify and rehabilitate dozens of monsters who had been driven to violence by circumstances rather than inherent evil. Many of them, it turned out, were simply beings who had been rejected by human society and found acceptance among monsters. The fascinating thing, Psychos explained during one of our debriefing sessions, is how many monsters are actually former humans. People who were transformed by trauma, experimentation, or simple desperation. We were meeting in what had once been the Monster Association's main conference room, now repurposed as a neutral meeting space for beings who didn't quite fit into traditional hero or monster categories. Like you, I observed. Like me, she agreed. I was human once, a researcher studying the psychological effects of psychic development on adolescents. But when I gained real power, I discovered that human society had no place for someone like me. So you decided to destroy it. So I decided to replace it with something that would have a place for someone like me. Psychos looked around the room, which now contained a mix of reformed monsters, rogue heroes, and beings that defied easy categorization. What you've built here, it's what I was trying to create. A space for entities that transcend normal human limitations. The diversity of our organization had grown exponentially since the Monster Association's integration. We now included beings like Du's reformed through psychic therapy, Rover, who turned out to be surprisingly intelligent when not being used as a weapon, and several monster executives who possessed administrative skills that were proving invaluable for managing our expanding operations. But it was the human recruits that were proving most interesting. Tank Top Master wants to join, Fubuki announced, entering the conference room with a tablet full of applications. Also Atomic Samurai, though he's insisting on conditions. What kind of conditions? He wants to maintain his teaching responsibilities. He's concerned about what happens to his disciples if the Hero Association collapses entirely. I considered this. Atomic Samurai represented old-school heroism at its best, dedicated, skilled, genuinely concerned with protecting people rather than gaining fame. His disciples were equally principled, if less powerful. Tell him we'll work something out. His teaching methods could be useful for training cosmic-enhanced individuals in traditional combat techniques. What about Tank Top Master? What's his motivation? Apparently, he's been growing disillusioned with the Hero Association's bureaucracy. Something about committee meetings taking precedence over actual hero work. Fubuki checked her notes. He also mentioned being impressed by our rehabilitation success rate. Tank Top Master was an interesting case, genuinely heroic, but limited by his adherence to the association's rules. Given freedom to operate according to his own judgment, he could be extremely effective. Approve both applications, but with probationary periods. We need to make sure they can adapt to working outside traditional hero structures. As Fubuki made notes, Sonic appeared in the doorway with his usual dramatic flair. We have a problem, he announced. A big one. How big? Reality-threatening big. Sonic activated a holographic display that showed satellite imagery from around the globe. Remember those cosmic-enhanced individuals we've been tracking? They're not acting independently anymore. The images showed coordinated activity on a scale that shouldn't have been possible. Cosmic-enhanced beings were appearing in multiple locations simultaneously, working together despite having no apparent connection to each other. They're being directed by something, Tatsumaki realized, her psychic senses detecting patterns in the energy signatures. Something with cosmic scale intelligence. God, I said grimly. He's decided to take a more direct hand in events. The main display shifted to show a new set of readings that made my cosmic awareness recoil in recognition. The energy signature was unmistakable, vast, ancient, and utterly inhuman. He's manifesting physically, Psychos whispered, her face pale with terror. I felt his presence when he empowered me, but this is different. This is him actually entering our reality. Where? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. Multiple locations, Sonic replied. But the primary manifestation appears to be. He paused, checking his readings. City Z specifically, the area where Saitama lives. Of course, God wasn't just manifesting randomly. He was positioning himself to confront the one being in this reality who might actually pose a threat to him. We need to move, I decided. All of us. This isn't something that can be handled by individual power, no matter how cosmic. Against God himself, Tank Top Master had arrived while we were talking, having apparently decided to join us regardless of formal approval processes. Isn't that a bit ambitious, even for you? Ambitious is what we do, I replied. Besides, we're not necessarily going to fight him. We're going to negotiate. Negotiate with God. Atomic Samurai had also arrived, his hand resting on his sword hilt. What could we possibly offer that would interest a cosmic entity? Entertainment, I said, remembering my previous conversation with the entity. God is bored. Eons of existence with nothing to challenge or surprise him. We represent something he hasn't encountered before, beings capable of growth beyond his original design. I turned to address the entire room. Everyone who's coming, prepare for immediate departure. Everyone who's staying, maintain operational security and be ready to evacuate if things go badly. As the team prepared for what might be our final mission, Tatsumaki approached me privately. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "We've built something good here. Something that could actually change the world for the better. Is it worth risking all of that for a confrontation with God?" "Look around," I replied. "Everyone in this room exists because they refused to accept the limitations others placed on them. Heroes who wouldn't follow unjust orders, monsters who chose rehabilitation over revenge, cosmic beings who retained their sanity despite overwhelming power." "Your point?" "My point is that what we've built here is only possible because we were willing to confront authority when it was wrong. God may be the ultimate authority, but that doesn't mean he's right about everything." Tatsumaki nodded slowly. "And if he decides to unmake us for our impudence? Then we'll face that together. But I'd rather die fighting for something I believe in than live in submission to someone else's vision of what we should be." As our assembled team prepared to face a literal God, I felt a strange sense of completeness. This was what I had been building towards since the moment I awakened in this reality, not just the accumulation of power, but the creation of something worthy of that power. The absolute predators had become more than just a team. We were a new form of existence, beings who had transcended the traditional categories of hero and monster to become something entirely unprecedented. Now it was time to find out if that was enough to survive an encounter with the entity that had created those categories in the first place. Arc 5, Confronting the Divine. Chapter 14, The God Descends. City Z had been transformed. Where once there had been empty lots and abandoned buildings, now there stood structures that hurt to look at directly, geometries that existed in too many dimensions, architecture that defied the basic laws of physics. At the center of it all, a tower that seemed to stretch infinitely upward, its peak disappearing into what might have been the sky or might have been another universe entirely. "He's remaking reality around himself," Psychos said, her voice tight with barely controlled fear. "Using the physical world as a canvas for expressing his true nature." We had approached as close as we dared, taking position on a ridge overlooking what had once been Saitama's neighborhood. Through my enhanced senses, I could feel the cosmic energies radiating from the impossible structures like heat from a star. "Any sign of Saitama?" I asked Sonic, who was using advanced surveillance equipment to scan the transformed area. "Negative. Either he evacuated when this started, or..." Sonic paused, adjusting his sensors. "Wait, there's something in the central tower. A power signature that's familiar, but different." "Different how?" "It's like Saitama's energy pattern, but amplified beyond any scale I've seen before. As if his power has been increased by several orders of magnitude." That was concerning. If God had empowered Saitama the way he'd empowered other individuals, the results could be catastrophic. Saitama's psychology was stable enough to handle overwhelming power, but the combination of his existing abilities with cosmic enhancement might create something beyond even God's control. "We need to get closer," I decided. "Whatever's happening in there, we need to understand it before we make any moves." The approach to the central tower took us through a landscape that belonged in a surrealist nightmare. Streets curved in impossible directions, buildings existed in multiple spatial dimensions simultaneously, and the air itself seemed to whisper with cosmic knowledge that no human mind should possess. "This is what happens when unlimited power meets unlimited imagination," Tatsumaki observed, her psychic shield straining to protect us from the ambient reality distortions. "God isn't just manifesting, he's showing us what he could do to the entire universe if he chose to." "A demonstration," Atomic Samurai agreed. "He wants us to understand the futility of opposing him." But as we moved deeper into the transformed zone, I began to notice something unexpected. The reality distortions weren't random, they followed patterns that suggested purpose beyond mere intimidation. "Look at the energy flows," I said, pointing to streams of cosmic power that were visible to my enhanced perception. "They're not just radiating outward from the tower. They're being drawn back in, as if something is absorbing them." "Or someone," Fubuki added, her psychic senses detecting subtleties that even I was missing. "There's definitely a consciousness at work here, but it's not God's. The pattern is too human." We reached the base of the impossible tower to find its entrance guarded by figures that made my cosmic awareness recoil in recognition. These were God's other champions, beings who had accepted his power and been transformed beyond recognition. The failures, psychos whispered, recognizing several forms despite their cosmic corruption. These are the cosmic enhanced individuals who couldn't maintain their sanity. He's using them as guardians. There were dozens of them, each radiating power that would have made them world-threatening on their own. Together, they represented a force that could reshape continents. But there was something wrong with them. Their movements were mechanical, their power signatures hollow. They're not really alive anymore, Tatsumaki realized. Just cosmic energy held together by the memory of consciousness. Puppets, I agreed. God isn't just empowering individuals, he's collecting them. Building an army of cosmic servants who can't disobey because they've ceased to truly exist. The realization was chilling. This was what God offered to beings he found interesting, power beyond imagination, followed by the gradual erosion of everything that made them individuals. Eventually, they would become nothing but extensions of his will, cosmic tools to be used and discarded as he saw fit. We need to get past them without triggering a fight, I decided. If they alert God to our presence before we're ready, he'll be able to prepare for whatever we're planning. And what exactly are we planning? Tank Top Master asked. We're going to find Saitama, I replied. And then we're going to do something that's never been done before, we're going to negotiate with God from a position of strength. The infiltration required a combination of all our abilities. Tatsumaki created psychic camouflage that hid us from the Guardians' senses, while Sonic's enhanced speed allowed him to scout safe paths through their patrol patterns. My cosmic power provided the raw force needed to bypass their reality distortion fields, and Fubuki coordinated our movements with military precision. It should have been impossible to sneak past beings with cosmic-level awareness. But the Guardians' hollow nature worked against them. They were too focused on following their programmed behaviors to notice anomalies that fell outside their expected parameters. The interior of the tower was even more surreal than its exterior. We moved through spaces that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, climbing stairs that led both upward and inward, passing through chambers that contained entire universes in miniature. He's showing off, I realized as we navigated a corridor lined with galaxies. This isn't just a tower, it's a museum of cosmic power. He's displaying everything he's capable of creating. Or destroying, Atomic Samurai added grimly. Finally, we reached what could only be described as the tower's heart, a vast chamber that existed at the intersection of multiple realities. At its center sat two figures engaged in what appeared to be casual conversation. One was God, manifested in a form that my mind could actually process, tall, luminous, radiating power that made reality bend around him simply by existing. The other was Saitama, looking exactly as he always did, bald, wearing his yellow hero costume, expression completely blank. Ah, God said without turning to look at us. My other interesting specimens have arrived. Please, join us. We were just discussing the nature of unlimited power. Saitama glanced over at our group with mild curiosity. Oh, hey. You're that guy who wanted to fight sometime. And the Psychic Sisters. And some other people I don't recognize. Hello, Saitama, I replied carefully, trying to gauge his mental state. He seemed normal, but with cosmic enhancement, appearances could be deceiving. We were having a fascinating conversation, God continued, still not looking at us directly. I was explaining to Saitama here how his power works, why he became so strong, and what role he plays in the cosmic order. And what role is that? Tatsumaki asked, her psychic defenses at maximum strength. He's a safety valve, God replied with obvious amusement. A being designed to prevent any single entity from accumulating enough power to threaten the stability of reality itself. Including you? I asked. Especially me. God finally turned to face us, and his smile was simultaneously benevolent and terrifying. You see, unlimited power is ultimately self-defeating. It leads to stagnation, boredom, the gradual erosion of everything that makes existence meaningful. So you created Saitama to stop you if you went too far. I created the conditions that would allow someone like Saitama to emerge naturally. His power isn't cosmic enhancement like yours, it's something far more fundamental. He represents the universe's immune system, a force that activates whenever the cosmic balance is threatened. Saitama scratched his bald head. That's a pretty complicated way to say I punch things that need punching. God laughed, a sound like cosmic wind chimes. Indeed, elegant in its simplicity. So why reveal all of this now? I asked. Why manifest physically? Why transform City Z? Why gather us all here? Because the cosmic balance is about to be threatened in a way it's never been threatened before. God's expression became serious. Not by me, not by you, but by forces from outside this reality entirely. The chamber around us suddenly displayed images that made my cosmic awareness recoil, beings of such vast power that they made God look insignificant, realities being consumed like snacks, universes colliding in wars that spanned infinite dimensions. The outer entities, Psychos whispered, recognizing something from her cosmic enhanced memories. The things that exist in the spaces between realities. They've taken notice of this universe, God confirmed. Specifically, they've noticed the unprecedented concentration of cosmic enhanced beings that have emerged recently. Because of your interventions, I realized. Because of all our interventions. Your organization, my empowerments, the various cosmic incursions that have been occurring, all of it has created a power signature that's visible from outside normal spacetime. The implications were staggering. By gathering cosmic enhanced individuals and teaching them to work together, we had inadvertently created a beacon that had attracted the attention of entities that treated universes as toys. How long do we have? Sonic asked, his